y'all, Harry is back today. Day 2, October 2nd. It is a Wednesday. So today I was going to have a little bit more of a focused talk. And today I wanted to talk about kind of how I realized that something was going on, that I was probably trans. And kind of how I got on this is I actually bought a new journal today, bullet journal. I got into that actually about 3 or 4 years ago, and so I've been using the same one for about 2 or 3 years now. I write a lot of things in there, but it's kind of a large one, and I skipped a couple of months and stuff, but this is the one I got, so I love it. It's a slick looking black book, and I was going through it, and I kind of just remembered all the stuff that I did and what I was feeling. So I guess let's take it back a couple years. I was, in grad school. I had just moved, and when you move, it's always a hard situation, right? It's always trying times, especially those first month or two when it's like you don't know anyone, you just feel completely isolated. You can go be around people, but you still feel all alone. You don't have anyone close at that point. You don't feel like you have anyone you can talk to. Top on that, starting a new graduate program in a completely different degree field, like there were a lot of feelings. And I just remember feeling so lost and so confused and just feeling a lot of things, but I didn't know how to describe it. And I should also preface this with saying one of the things that for me that was going on is because of how I interpreted some childhood stuff, I was terrible at emotions. Like, I didn't feel them, and I couldn't identify them. I didn't have the vocabulary for it. I just was going down this path of depression, and I was very isolated, and I didn't know why. And so one of the things that I started doing is I went to therapy, and then I started trying to determine what emotions I had and what I was feeling, because I knew I was feeling at least something, but I didn't know what, and I didn't know when, and I didn't know what triggered it. So in my journal here, we can go back, and one of the things I guess that even just kind of shows the level of like craziness I was at and like lack of trust is I actually had a different like a code system. It's a shorthand, which I guess you could learn, and I could tell you about it. But I learned this, and I was writing everything in that because I just didn't want anyone to have to be able to read it. Like, I was that scared of being found out. And this was not everything, but yeah, I wrote in a shorthand, so no one could read it. People were like, "What the hell are you writing?" It was beautiful for that. But I started with a habit tracker, okay? And I don't know if you are aware of what those are, but it looks something kind of like this, okay? Where I had like the days of the month, and then I had what I was like trying to do, and then I would cross out every day what it was. So like at the time I was, tracking certain things, like was I journaling, was I stretching, was I playing my horn, was I walking, like just tracking different things, and I had different goals. I would have a different goal every month. So that evolved. I did that for a while, and I really liked it. And then I got to the point where I was taking up, instead of one page, I was taking up 2 pages. So like, let's look at this one. I was taking up like a full page here, and what I was doing is I had like different events that I would have. So like I was tracking like my diet, I was tracking like, did I have alcohol, how did I sleep, how many hours did I sleep, like what habits did I do, did I make my bed, did I journal, did I meditate, a bunch of things like what supplements did I take, just things like that. And then I started tracking feelings. And I started with like the 5 basic feelings. If you've ever seen like Inside Out, Disney's movie Inside Out, that's based on that. I started with joy, happy, anger. I'll have to look up the rest. I can't read my thing real quickly, my shorthand real quickly. Yeah, it doesn't age well because I haven't used it in a while. I can still read it, but it takes me a long time. Anyway, I started tracking that, and I put it on a level from like 1 to 5. So like 1 being, did I not feel it? Or like I felt it, but like not very strongly, and 5 being like, I felt that very strongly today. I started tracking that, and I tracked that for, I mean, this was like months in a row, like months here, where I was just tracking like, did I feel it, and like, what did I do? And one of the things I realized is one of my bigger emotions that I started to have was I identified it as envy. And at the time, that's the word that I had for it. And I knew what it was. I didn't want to admit to myself what it was. And what it was dysphoria. It was that I had seen something that day, or I had, had whatever, and it just triggered me into dysphoric feelings and thoughts. I didn't want to admit it, and I didn't know what it meant either. I had something in the back of my head, but I didn't know what it meant. And so I have months. I mean, I did that for like a year of tracking this stuff and seeing if there's any parallels. Like, if I didn't sleep well, did I feel more sad, or did I feel, whatever. One of the funniest things that I remember, like the big realization, was I was feeling envy, and I would feel it on Sundays. I was like, why am I feeling this on Sundays? I was like, oh, well, I was going to church. And I'm not, we don't have to talk religion at this point. I'm not exactly a religious person, but when you're in the South, that's one of the ways to meet people. And it was also one of the ways to meet people I felt who had similar viewpoints and morals. And let's not put all the junk into that. I wanted to be able to volunteer with people, be around people where I didn't have to drink excessively, and where I could get together and just be around people who were trying to do good in this world. And that's what the goal was. Very pure, innocent. We're not reading into that. And in the South, when you go to church, it's very different than in the North, and you dress up, and there were, girls would wear dresses and guys would wear suits or something thereof. Occasionally you would have a polo shirt, but it was usually khakis or, dress slacks and a dress shirt. And of course I would wear that because that's what I have. That's what I wear to clinic. That's what, I'm used to wearing. That's what that's how I express myself. And I started to realize that I'm the outcast here. And then I would see like the girls, and I'm like, I just can't relate. Like there was like young Presbyterian women group, and like they had asked me to join and like asked me to go on retreats, and I was like, I have nothing in common with these people. And there was just a huge trigger in church. And then it started carrying over into like, oh, I would be at the gym, and then like I would see a guy and I'd be like, damn, like why can't I have that? That. Or in my even classmates, they were, with the guys, it's like I wanted to fit in with them, and like why, I didn't understand why they didn't see me as like one of the guys. And then I didn't fit in with the girls either. Like, and I had a lot of sorority girls. It was just like so confusing and so polarizing, which is one of the beautiful things I think that happened from me moving to the South. Is it was so polarizing, so like it became very noticeable for me that like something was wrong. And so it kind of was history after that. I think one day like I just got so depressed and so sad, and Googled it and realized, this is me. And it wasn't an overnight thing, but that's kind of my story. That's how I kind of started realizing, and I could put a label to the emotions and to what was going on. And if we're being honest, I freaking hate the word dysphoria. The fact that I've said it so many times is kind of astounding in this video, but I hate it because it makes it sound like it's wrong. And honestly, that's never been something that I feel bad about or that I feel wrong about. But there's been like, a lack of congruence of what is expected versus what I felt. And so like that word just pisses me off because it's not who I am. It's not like, there's nothing wrong with me. But yet there's this term that's like, oh, you have this, like, and I just, like, there's just days I wish I didn't have it, but I also didn't know that I was different than everyone else either in having it. It's just so confusing. That's my tangent on dysphoria. That's how I found out that, I figured out that I probably was trans, you know, and honestly took that look inside. I could look back and I could talk about things from when I was like 3 years old. It's not necessarily a new thing. I've always been this, but I didn't have the words and I didn't have the courage to look inward and do that. And I didn't have the ability to, probably because of all of the trauma that I had built on top of that. If you're interested in that, I definitely recommend that. Track it. That's my rant on dysphoria. I hope it's a little bit more focused for you. Thanks for tuning in. If you are anywhere in the northern area of the States and you're seeing this, we only got a couple more days and then it's going to be out of the 90s and we're going to be back into fall. So happy fall, y'all. All right, have a good one.